Television police dramas existed before Dragnet, but none of them felt like Dragnet. When it returned in 1967, the show didn't just portray law enforcement, it tried to define it. To the outside viewer, it looked simple. Two detectives, Los Angeles, uniforms, paperwork, cases. But behind the camera, there was one unwavering rule that every actor, every camera operator, every writer, and every guest star had to follow. Nobody was allowed to deviate from Jack Webb's vision. Not a little. Not at all. Jack Webb didn't act on Dragnet, he controlled Dragnet. His portrayal of Sergeant Joe Friday became a mask. Calm voice. Dry tone. No wasted breath. The show reflected the man behind the trench coat far more than the lapt itself. Friday wasn't a character. He was a philosophy. Viewers didn't see a flawed detective or a tired man facing human ugliness. They saw unwavering order. He didn't move quickly, he didn't yell, he didn't chase drama. He waited until the facts lined up, and then he used them like blunt instruments. That level of restraint didn't come naturally to other actors. They came in expecting to perform. Jack hated that word. Perform. Dragnet wasn't acting. It was recreating. It was law enforcement as a machine. Emotional expression? Unnecessary. Improvisation? Forbidden. Even intonation had limits. If a guest star delivered a line with too much personality, he'd stop production mid-sentence. Webb believed that audiences wanted reality, not emotion. They didn't want detectives cracking jokes or second-guessing themselves. They wanted the badge. They wanted authority. They wanted someone to tell them the world still worked according to rules. And so the number one rule on Dragnet was simple. Do it Jack's way or don't do it at all. Actors who tried to add flair, gone. A joke? Removed from the script. A facial expression too dramatic? Retake. One guest actor later said that working on Dragnet was like performing with your spine locked in cement. He didn't mean it as an insult. It was simply the atmosphere. Webb didn't hire performers, he hired instruments. He expected everyone to speak in a flat, clipped cadence, repertorial, not dramatic. He wanted the audience to feel like they were listening to a police transcript. If an actor leaned into the dramatic, Webb reminded them that police officers don't deliver punchlines. They deliver reports. That discipline was invasive. Even the smallest decisions were controlled. Props had to be held a certain way. Guns were carried with strict respect, never swung around or brandished for entertainment. Webb asked experts, real detectives, to review scripts line by line. If a fingerprinting scene was staged too casually, they reshot it. If a suspect seemed too theatrical, Webb trimmed the performance down until all that remained was a confession read like corporate paperwork. People assumed he did this to protect law enforcement. But really, he did it to protect control. Writers on Dragnet learned the rule the hard way. They weren't allowed to add soap opera dialogue. They weren't allowed to exaggerate crimes. And above all, they were not allowed to portray police as morally ambiguous. Jack Webb sincerely believed that Dragnet was a civil service, not a TV show. The tone wasn't entertainment. It was instruction. The good guys were good. The bad guys were bad. The camera didn't exist to explore trauma or humanity. It existed to document consequences. Characters weren't individuals with arcs. They were case studies. This didn't mean Webb lacked emotion. He simply hid it behind structure. Dragnet avoided the seductive chaos of other cop shows. Car chases? Rare. Shootouts? Practically non-existent. Instead, they showed the most terrifying thing in law enforcement: bureaucracy. Interviews. Forms. Chain of evidence. The sound of a badge tapping against a desk. Suspense on Dragnet came from procedure, not adrenaline. Every second the viewer waited for just the facts. They were stepping into Webb's worldview, clean, rigid, unbreakable. One actor tried to improvise sarcastic humor during a scene. He delivered his line with a smirk. Webb cut. The actor tried again, this time smiling more subtly. Webb cut again. After the fifth attempt, Webb didn't give direction. He simply replaced the actor. People didn't return to Dragnet after making that mistake. Even the regular cast members learned to compress themselves. They didn't breathe too loudly between sentences. They didn't blink during interrogation scenes. They didn't steal attention from Friday. Every eye on set was trained toward the man who said this is the city like he was reading commandments. Webb enforced the rule off camera as well. If someone was late to set, they weren't lectured, they were dismissed. If a guest star complained that the tone was too stiff or unnatural, Webb responded with one phrase, "This is how police talk." Some tried to argue. Some believed drama made television compelling. Those people worked on other shows. Dragnet wasn't about compelling. It was about control. Even the camera operators were under that rule. There were no creative angles, no emotional close-ups. Webb believed that a scene shot without artistic flourish would feel more like a real police interview. That was Dragnet's secret weapon. Television of the era still flirted with stage theatrics, sets with big lights, exaggerated voices. Dragnet looked like someone had pointed a security camera at the lap squad room. Viewers didn't just watch Dragnet. They trusted it. Parents let their kids watch because it felt educational. Newspapers praised it for its seriousness. The lap loved it because it made them look infallible. And every ounce of that approval came from the rule Webb forced onto everyone around him. He squeezed every moment of the show until it was cold, stripped, efficient. That sincerity, that almost intimidating lack of emotion, turned Dragnet into a cultural weapon. Not everyone loved it, but no one forgot it. Actors sometimes joked quietly, Dragnet isn't a drama. Dragnet is paperwork performed on television. They weren't wrong. But that paperwork, that dryness, that lack of humanity, it wasn't a flaw. It was the entire point. Webb didn't want the audience to enjoy detective work. He wanted them to respect it. And so the number one rule everyone had to follow on Dragnet wasn't just about performance. It was about surrender. You didn't come on set to bring your talent. You came to abandon it. You came to step into Jack Webb's narrow hallway and walk it exactly as he walked it. Facts, not feelings. Delivery, not interpretation. Compliance, not improvisation. That rule is why Dragnet feels unlike anything before or after. The silence between sentences. The way Joe Friday stands perfectly still. The way suspect seems small before he even opens his mouth. The audience learned to fear that stillness. They learned to fear the moment right before Friday said his signature line. Because when he did, the case wasn't dramatic anymore. It was already closed.